So thank you for attending this session today. As I said, we will be recording this for others to be able to view this information in the future and hopefully host a couple more of these ongoing in the future. My name is Augusta Isley. I am the Associate Director for Pre-Award Development and Outreach here in Sponsored Projects. And I am simply the facilitator for this session today. My host is Kristyn Robe. She is a proposal manager here in Sponsored Projects and will be guiding us through CAYUSE today. So I will turn it over to her.
Thank you, Augusta. Yes, so I'm Kristyn. I'm going to be giving you sort of a broad overview of CAYUSE. So we will be going over what CAYUSE is and how we use it. And then we will do a brief walkthrough of how a faculty member would use CAYUSE as a principal investigator or researcher, and how a unit approver might use CAYUSE, including what to look out for and pay attention to, what to do if you notice an error or if you have a question. And then after that, we will look through the available reports that you can pull from CAYUSE, and then we can open it up for questions or discussion. If you have come with questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat. And if it's something that I'll get to in the presentation, great. And if not, we'll have time towards the end to address those. But starting off, CAYUSE is the system of record for all sponsored projects activity at Ball State, meaning grants and contracts that sort of originate from outside the university. CAYUSE is used for developing and managing proposal submissions, as well as monitoring and tracking award activity throughout a project's life cycle. When proposals are undergoing development, they require routing and approvals from college leadership to ensure both programmatic and financial endorsement. And if you're here, you're using CAYUSE either as a researcher who is submitting grants, as a unit approver, like maybe a department chair or a budget director who is reviewing and approving proposals, or as departmental administrators who may be listed as proxy approvers or who need to be able to go into CAYUSE and pull documents or reports. Each unit is only required to have one primary contact for approval, but SPA likes for units to also designate at least one proxy in the event that someone is not available. So typically this is a person who is maybe an administrative coordinator or is a co-chair of a department or a unit, but it can be anyone that the primary approver trusts with the review and approval of proposals in the name of the unit. And if you're not a principal investigator or a unit approver or a proxy and you need access to CAYUSE, maybe to just pull documents or reports, that is something that SPA has to do manually. So you would reach out to your assigned proposal manager, which you can find on the website. And here in SPA, we have a pre-award team that consists of proposal managers or PMs who deal with the part of the grant lifecycle that happens between idea development and actual proposal submission. And we have a post-award team that consists of grant managers or GMs who deal with the part of the grant cycle from award negotiation and acceptance to award closeout. You can find out who your PM or GM is on our website, bsu.edu/SPA. The proposal managers in SPA deal mostly with the proposal features of CAYUSE, obviously. For example, all proposal records are initiated by your department's assigned proposal manager. So no one else is starting proposal records. And the grant managers deal with the award features in CAYUSE. And so a bit later, we'll go into how proposals and awards are connected in CAYUSE and how to find post-award information. But if you're ever looking for resources or information about CAYUSE or grants in general, our website should probably always be your first stop. We have links for CAYUSE, all of the other applications we use, as well as a number of FAQs and training guides and policies. So I am going to take us to the Cayuse Research Suite landing page, and we will sort of just go through using Cayuse. So here we are. Cayuse Research Suite has two administration modules. CayuseSP is used for developing and managing proposal submissions, as well as monitoring and tracking award activity. Cayuse 424, listed here, is used exclusively by SPA for web-based federal proposal submissions. So when you are logging into Cayuse and you land here, you are always going into the CayuseSP module. So a principal, I'm logged in as one of the faculty members here. If you are a principal investigator or PI, you will use Cayuse to input information about your grant proposal that your proposal manager wouldn't necessarily know, including details about potential regulatory compliance or intellectual property information. Your proposal manager will have emailed instructions to you for completing and routing a Cayuse record. The first place you'll land is usually here, your dashboard. And you will access the proposal record in question over to the left here under My Proposals. You can see that there are 3 draft proposals sort of in the works. And here's the record that we have. So once you get into your proposals, you have a tab for unsubmitted proposals and submitted proposals. And this refers to whether or not they have been submitted for routing, not whether the actual proposal has been submitted. So everything listed here is a Cayuse record that needs to be completed and it needs to be submitted for routing. So we're going to go into this one here. And we are going to land on the proposal information page. Once you get into this record, anything on the left here under item list that does not have a green check mark is something that needs to be completed before it can be routed. So that's conflict of interest, regulatory compliance, everything else without a check mark. On any of these pages, at the top, there will always be sort of a brief rundown of what information is being requested on the page and the contact information for whoever has would be able to help you if you had any questions. So I'm going to go into the first section that needs to be completed, conflict of interest. The top of the page, please read this carefully. If you have questions, contact your proposal manager. And then you would fill out any page that's not completed yet, and you would click save at the bottom, and then just move on. Here, regulatory compliance. Are there human subjects? Are there animal subjects? If you have questions about what any of this means, here's the contact information at the top of the page for who has those answers. The proposal abstract section under this item list, this may or may not be waiting for you as the PI to complete. It kind of depends on the proposal manager. I like to fill this section out for my PIs, but other proposal managers may prefer that their investigators go in and complete this section. So you would either input your abstract and press save, or select the radio button that you're not going to provide an abstract. Before we get into how to submit and certify, I want to show you The proposal attachment section will already have been completed by your proposal manager, and you will have received copies of everything. But on this page, you can find the guidelines for the opportunity that you are applying for, any other documentation necessary. So what if you are requesting a course release, the approval for that course release will be here. If there's cost share, that approval will be here. Your draft narrative will be here, and the final budget will be here. So I'm going to go into another record actually that is ready to be routed. It's an exact copy, except all the sections are ready. So now that all of these items on the left have a green check mark, this submit for routing button has appeared. I want to note that there is not a green check mark next to submission notes. You're not required to have or input any submission notes in order to route your proposal. So we're going to assume that everything in this record is ready, and we are going to click the submit for routing button. It's going to ask us, are we sure? And there's some text here about what happens next, how the approval process works. If you are sure you are ready to submit this proposal record for review, you will click yes, and you are taken back to the proposal routing status page. So from here, the next step for the principal investigator or the faculty member is to certify the proposal. So we can see here that submitting for routing does not indicate that we have actually reviewed and completed the certifications for the record. You can do that from the button here that says certify proposal, or on the left under certification approvals, you have your PI certification inbox. So you can also, if you manage to leave this screen and you need to come back to Cayuse and get to it, you would go to the PI certification inbox. So I'm going to press certify proposal. And now I have to read through this here. And so you can enter any comments you might have about the proposal. And if you can agree with all the statements that are listed here in the certifications, you would press submit certification. I will say that any comments that you enter at any point will be able to be seen by anyone who has access to the record. So just something to know. So I'm going to agree to all these. I'm going to submit my certification. And now you can see in the routing status under investigator, the decision, under decision section, it says certified and the timestamp. And now it has been routed to the very first approver on the routing list. So this section of your proposal routing status page here has the order of everybody who will need to be approving on behalf of this proposal, and who in that unit is responsible for doing so. So here, Petra Zimmerman is the chair of Environment and Geology and Natural Resources Department, and her proxy is listed as Tan Harnish. She's the admin coordinator. This is also an old system, so some of these names are out of date. So you can see exactly who is meant to be authorizing and at what point in the process we are. At the bottom of this page is a status history. And so you can see when the proposal record has been submitted for routing, when you can see when a department has approved the record, and there are a few other status changes that we'll go over a little bit later. So now that this has been routed to the first approver, I'm going to log in as an approver and show you what those screens look like. Okay. So here I am. I'm going to go into CayuseSP. A unit approver is going to be using CAYUSE to review materials associated with the proposal, and they will be checking that details included in the narrative and the budget are appropriate for their unit and for the university. So once a record has been submitted for routing, the first unit approver on the routing chain or their proxy receives an automatic system email. And that email has information about why your unit is involved in this record. It also details where to find a summary of the record and what to do if you have any questions or concerns about the project. At this point, it's important to note that when we begin, when we submit something for routing, the only document that is required to be final at that point is the budget. So we do attach a narrative, a draft narrative to the record, and you should review it, but it might not be complete. So the budget should be final at that point. So I'm going to find what records are ready for me to approve. And under certifications and approvals, I have a unit approval inbox, and it tells me the number of units or of records that are waiting for my approval. So I'm going to go into there. And I can see here is the record that we just submitted. So I'm going to open it up, and it's going to take us to that proposal routing status page. So from here, we have a few options. We can view IPF. The IPF stands for internal processing form. Essentially, that just means the CAYUSE record. So this button will take you directly into the CAYUSE record. If you want to see all of the data in the record at once, you can click on this little PDF icon at the top instead. Let's think that. And here you go. It has the basic proposal information, who is the sponsor, who is the principal investigator. Under budget, you would be able to see whether there is any cost share, what is the project period, what indirect cost rate has been applied to this project. Not a whole lot of budget details, but I'll get to where you can find more about that in just a minute. And it has all the information about the, it has all the information that the principal investigator recorded about conflict of interest, regulatory compliance, export control, intellectual property, community benefits, all of those things. You can find the location. All of it will a lot of the times be at Ball State and not off campus. You would see the proposal abstract here. And you can see that there are attachments, but this document does not hold the attachments that have been added to the record. But from the proposal routing status page, you have a few other tabs that you can access. If you go to this little paperclip icon, you can see what guidelines or what attachments have been added. So a chair or a director who is authorizing on behalf of a department, they should be opening up the narrative and reviewing the narrative, and they should be opening up the budget and reviewing the budget. And some of the things that they are going to be looking for are whether the funding opportunity itself is appropriate for the faculty member. You could read through the guidelines to find that information. They are also looking at whether the cost share commitments of the department are appropriate, whether the faculty member is properly supported in terms of maybe academic year time or supplemental compensation for collaborators. And they are also looking for whether any resources in the department are accurately described in the narrative, like as applicable. One other thing that approvers should be doing is recording any cost share and academic year time commitment amounts for the investigator on the record, because SPA does not do this. So if you are looking at these records and you see that someone has a course release or there's cost share, you would need to be keeping a record of that yourself. So again, SPA makes sure that the budget is final before a proposal is routed for approval, meaning it more than likely will not be changed again prior to submission. It's also important to note that budget approval by a unit authorizer at the time of approval constitutes approval of contingency spending in the event that an award is made. So contingency spending is incurring expenses after the sponsor notifies Ball State that the award is funded, but before the award agreement is finalized. So there's sort of that little window of time that we've been told we're going to get the award, but we don't have it in writing yet. We don't have it. The signatures haven't been applied. Your authorization of the proposal counts as an approval towards any contingency spending in the event that spending needs to happen between that period of time. If you are a budget director, you are looking at whether the budget is properly constructed. Are the financial commitments of the college appropriate, including whether the amounts included for any course reductions or tuition or GA stipends are appropriate. And if you are a dean, you are looking at the narrative and the budget and looking at whether there are any strategic concerns with the project. Is the university adequately resourced to support the work that has been described in the narrative? How is the college represented in the narrative? And are there any other maybe university level concerns? So the components of a narrative draft sort of vary according to the sponsor. If there are sections of the narrative, such as maybe a facilities statement or a heading that has something about facilities and resources, the budget directors and the deans and the chairs are paying close attention to that section. And if you're reading through these narrative drafts that are provided in the record and they're not answering the questions that you have, you should talk to your principal investigator directly. And if you are looking at the budget spreadsheet and something isn't right, or you have questions, or you don't understand the cost share or the indirect cost, you would want to talk directly to the proposal manager who put that budget together. So I'm going to go ahead and authorize this proposal. There are some statements that I need to agree to in order to submit my authorization. And there's also a comment box. You are not required to restate your approval here. You can leave a comment about the content of the proposal here. This is another situation where everyone who has access to the record will be able to see all comments. So if you have something that is directed, if you want to make a comment that is directed at a specific person, you should probably just email them. But if you have a general comment about the proposal record, you can add it here. And then we are going to submit our authorization as chair of the unit. And there you go. If you have authorized a proposal and you want to go back and review it, there's a separate tab in your unit approval inbox for previously reviewed records. Melissa, I see that you've asked if an authorizing person should change, how does SPA get updated information? Does it feed from Banner, or do academic units need to contact SPA with personnel updates for manual revision? That is a great question. I would say yeah, you should contact SPA directly. Some information does feed into CAYUSE from Banner. But if people are changing roles, I think we need to update that manually. And you'll be able to see if you have access to records, you can go in, it would update every record that belongs to whatever unit you were searching for. And if you're seeing the wrong people, you should definitely just reach out to us and we can go in and change that manually. Yep, Augusta's saying we have to update approvers manually. No problem. I want to go back into a record and show you more about the proposal status options. So after all of the unit approvers have applied their authorization, the record gets routed back to SPA so that the authorized organizational representative can review the record and apply the final approval. So at that point, the status is going to be listed as admin office in process. After the AOR approves, a proposal is considered fully cleared for submission. And the AOR approval will come from Jackie Davis, who is our Director of Pre-Award Strategy and Outreach, or one of her assigned proxies. So when the AOR does the final review and approval, they are looking for whether any university resources that have been mentioned are described accurately. They are looking at whether the budget is aligned with any limitations that have been mentioned in the sponsor guidelines or in university policies or federal regulations. They are looking at whether the indirect cost rate is appropriate. They're looking at the project activity code. If there have been any issues raised by the approval chain during the process, they are making sure that those have been appropriately addressed. And they are making sure that all the proper documentation is accounted for. So when AOR approval is obtained, the status changes to proposal approved, and the proposal manager receives an automated email from the CAYUSE system that says that it's been fully approved, and then they are able to coordinate proposal submission in collaboration with their principal investigator. And then this record sits here until we receive a funding decision, however many months later. So once we, let's say this proposal does get awarded. The proposal manager goes in and changes they add an award to the proposal record. So here at the top of the screen, this one has been marked as funded. And you can see up here, we have the proposal number. We also have a project number. During the pre-award process, there is only a standalone proposal record. And after a proposal is awarded, data on the award, any subcontracts, and the award's accounts have to be organized and tracked. And in CayuseSP, information about awards and related proposal records is stored in a project. So I'm going to click into this project so that you can see. So here we have the general information about this project. What was the title? What's the admin unit? Who's the PI? What's the start date? And what's the status? So this one is in an active spending status. In the awards tab, you can see all awards that are associated under the project. And there is one for each project year. So in the proposal record, that proposal was a 2-year project. There is an award record for each year. And I'll just click into it so you can see that there is a little bit more information here about the award. You can also navigate to the associated proposal, and all of the documents are under that paperclip icon. All of the attachments that were part of the original proposal record will exist here. as well as any documentation that the grant managers upload to the record. So I'm going to go back to the project. Again, here you can see the awards. There's a tab for proposals. There's that tab for the attachments. There's also under accounts, you need to find the FOAP once the grant manager goes in and changes sort of the status of the award and updates all their documents. The account, under account, you will also be able to see the fund code. Does anybody have any questions so far about proposals, awards, projects? Okay, then the last thing that we have to go over before we can sort of open it up for discussion is about pulling reports. So from any screen in CayuseSP, at the top, you have my dashboard, reporting, more. You go to the reporting page, you can see that reporting is divided into 3 major categories: proposals, awards, and projects. You can view reports on proposal activity, funding rates, awards by department, awards by PI, and reports can be exported to Excel to further customize the report data. All users in CayuseSP can run all reports, but the ability to see record data that is not shown in the report format is limited to users with access to that record. So that's usually the research team and department personnel. And so let's say I am a chair and I want to go in and see all of the awards in my unit. Let's pretend we are still the chair of Egner. I will search for my unit and it's organized. It's not alphabetical, but I know where this one is. I'll select my unit, press continue, and I can filter. I'm going to search for awards that are where my unit is listed as the award admin unit or is the PI's home unit. And let's say I want to look at all the awards that were made in fiscal year 21. All right. I'm going to click view report and it will show all of that information on this screen. So the award number, linked proposals, the award amount, total cost share, who the lead PI is, who the sponsor is, and information about the award start date. Oops. There's also a button at the top to export all of this data to Excel. So Augusta has put in the chat that while the unit field is required to search, the date fields are optional. That's true. So I can go back in and just search this one. Can just search one unit. Let's find one. And I can just leave those blank and it'll just pull up all awards ever. So you can also search by sponsor type. So I'll select a unit again. And I will, you can search for sponsor type. So whether the funding source was a federal agency, was it a foundation, was it internal funding? Maybe you want to see all of the internal funding that has been received by your unit. You can view that report. Hey, Ed, I see your question. How will this impact IRB approval for the future? Can you elaborate on what you mean? If you're able to unmute.
I can speak to this. I think I know what they are
Okay.
asking. So IRB is going to a another Cayuse software. It's actually on a separate platform than this Cayuse software. So we'll be straddling two worlds for a little bit. But the IRB project is moving forward separately from CAYUSE-SP. And as they bring that software online, I believe there will begin to be demonstrations of that, probably in the spring and into the summer of next year.
Okay. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, we can get back to it in just a minute. Regarding this, this reporting feature, it's not the most usable way to see proposal and award data. So if you are trying to pull a report and you are not finding what you need, I would suggest that you first head to the SPA website and see if a report already exists. It would be under the outreach and education section of the website. And if you can't find it, then you should contact your proposal manager directly, who, again, you can find by going to bsu.edu/SPA. Does anyone have any questions about what we've gone over, or was there a feature that was not covered that you want to talk about? Or is anyone having any issues in Cayuse, and that's why you're here?
Kristyn, this is Angela. Could I ask a quick question about the flags that get like tagged the various awards?
Sure.
I know that they have flags for like buyouts and GAs. Is there a list that we could see, like, if I had a question like, oh, I wonder if there's a flag about this particular item, do you all have a list that I could just go there, and so that if I don't see the flag, then I know that either A, it doesn't have that in the award, or I would be able to see that on your list to know that, yeah, this is a flaggable item. Does that make sense?
I'm gonna go into a record on my screen and just make sure that I understand what your question is. So you were asking about, whoops.
Like, I can see one just in my unit where it's got graduate research and supplemental compensation. If I had a question about something very specific and I don't see them in these flags, should I assume that it means it doesn't have it, or does it possibly mean like that's just not something you all flag for? So I was wondering if there's a list of the things that you tag so that I would know, like, oh, this isn't something they tag, so I might still need to go in and look at each of these proposals or awards to see if this is included.
I think that there must be a list of flag options somewhere.
There is.
Okay, is it on our website for other people to use?
No, but I did put it in the chat, what
Oh.
the flag definitions are and what flags we do have in the chat. And thank you, Angela. That's a great question. And that's something we can definitely put on our website. I mean, it's not supposed to be like a mystery or anything. So thank you for that suggestion.
No, thank you. This is very helpful. Thank you.
The flags that get added to records are to help us keep track of certain activities. So like we want to be able to say how many proposals are associated with community engagement, or how many have supplemental compensation, or how many are student proposals. That's another flag. Or how many is funding undergraduate research. But if a proposal is or is not on the record, doesn't necessarily change the rest of the content of the record. So the flags can be handled at any time. If you notice something that you think should be included or that doesn't make sense for the record, you can let the proposal manager know at any time.
Okay.
So. Did
For the
that answer
time
all the
being,
questions?
I'm looking, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just gonna ask if that was
Yeah,
everything.
right now I'm just looking for a quick way to find, I have a new dean, and so she's got a lot of questions, and I'm just trying to find a quick way to find certain things that she's looking for without going into every single award, opening the attachments. I'm trying to just to find a more expeditious way of getting her some basic information.
Sure. So she is wanting to pull proposal data based on what flags are attached to the record.
Well, I don't know that she even knows about the flags yet, but I would thought maybe I could use those just to help quickly go through and pull some things up, before it just takes, it's time consuming to go in and open each award, then the attachments, the budget and things
Yeah,
like that.
so you're probably talking about if you need to track like academic year course releases.
Various things like that. But yes, that's obviously one of them. Yeah.
Augusta, so I don't think that there is a way to pull that in the reporting feature that we just went over, but that is something that we can pull, that SPA can pull separately.
Okay.
Augusta knows about how all the data is collected and tracked for CAYUSE.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course. Is there any other questions like that or at all?
Yeah, I will add to what Kristyn said about those flags. They do not appear to be in the Argo. So we have Argos summary reports out there available within Argos. So you can pull better, more maybe useful information for reporting in Argos, but on our monthly report that is sent out, we do include those flags in that report. And certainly I think we're changing up a lot of how we're doing reporting and what we're adding to Tableau and things like that. So we will be sure to like start to include those flags in other places because much like you, Angela, the flags are a way for us to easily pull that information, specifically like course releases and things like that. So we don't have to go through like a million spreadsheets to find information. Any other questions about CAYUSE, its use, maybe things that, like the flags, like things like that, that you aren't seeing, but may be helpful?
Well, if you don't have any now and you think of some later, you can always send us an email. Here again is the link to CAYUSE, whoops. And the link to the SPA website. If you don't have our emails, you can go to the SPA website. Right at the top, there is a button for Find Grant Manager, Find Proposal Manager. And all of our emails are attached to our profiles. Okay, great. Angela, I'm glad. Okay, well, thank you all for joining us and thanks for all the great questions. And I hope everyone has a wonderful, restful weekend.
Yes, thank you.